Hansel and Gretel. Once upon a time, there lived a poor woodcutter at the edge of the forest. He had two children, Hansel and Gretel, that his second wife, a hideous woman, hated so much. The woodcutter was so poor that he was unable to feed all his family. His wife decided to abandon Hansel and Gretel in the forest. "They are old enough to sort things out themselves," she said. The woodcutter, who loved his children very much, felt so miserable. Nevertheless, he accepted to fulfill his wicked wife's wish. But Hansel heard what had been decided. When everybody was asleep, he went out of the house and filled his pockets with white pebbles. The next day, while walking in the forest, Hansel lagged behind to be able to mark the way back home by throwing his pebbles. When they got to the heart of the forest, the stepmother said to the children, "Rest a little bit and wait for us here." But the parents never came back. "We are lost," said Gretel. "We will never be able to find our home again." Then she started weeping. Hansel comforted her, saying, "Don't worry, I have scattered pebbles along the way. We won't find it difficult to return home." The moon was casting its soft light on the pebbles, and in no time the two children were in full view of the house. "There it is!" exclaimed Hansel. Their return made the stepmother mad with rage. "We will do it again tomorrow," she said to her husband. But before they all went to sleep, she made sure that the door was properly closed. Therefore, Hansel wasn't able to go out to fetch some pebbles. The next day, before departure, the wicked stepmother gave Hansel a piece of bread. "This is your breakfast," she said in a drilly voice. This time, instead of pebbles, Hansel had no other choice than to throw small scraps of bread on the way. Same as the previous day, the woodcutter and his wife moved away and abandoned the two children. "How are we going to find our way back this time?" "Did you throw pebbles like before?" asked Gretel. "No, I couldn't fetch any because the door was locked. So I threw small scraps of bread," said Hansel. But they soon discovered that the crumbs had disappeared. "Oh no, I forgot about the birds!" exclaimed Hansel. "They ate all the breadcrumbs. It is now impossible to find our way back." Despair crawled into their hearts. They sat under a tree and finally sank into deep sleep. As soon as the day broke, Hansel and Gretel started searching again for their home, but in vain. Finally, and after a long walk, they approached a glade where a strange house stood in the middle. They had never seen such a house before. They came near it cautiously and soon discovered that the walls were made of gingerbread, the roof of sugar, chocolate, biscuits, nougat, and marzipan composed this peculiar residence too. Because they were starving, the two children couldn't help themselves tasting all these sweets. Hansel ate a piece of gingerbread facade while Gretel devoured one of the marzipan stones that covered the lower part of the house. "I would love to taste one of these sugar tiles," said Hansel. "Look," said Gretel, "the two columns that frame the door are made of barley sugar." No sooner had he finished these words than the door got opened. An old lady appeared and said, "Instead of nibbling my house, why don't you come in and eat your fill inside, little ones?" Hansel and Gretel stepped inside the house, feeling very confident. What bad luck! The old woman was a horrible witch who lured children with her house so as to eat them later. As soon as they were in, the witch grabbed Hansel and locked him up in a cage. When she found that the boy was too thin, she ordered Gretel to prepare a delicious meal in order to fatten him up. Every morning, the witch forced Hansel to stick one of his fingers through the bars of the cage to check if he had become fat. Hansel noticed that the witch was short-sighted, so he didn't show her one of his fingers, but a small chicken bone his sister had given him before. So the witch thought that Hansel wasn't getting fatter. One day, furious and out of patience, she decided to cook the boy as he was. She ordered Gretel to heat up the oven. Gretel executed the orders and then said to the witch, "I don't know if the oven is hot enough. I'm not used to do such things." All right, I'll see it myself," grumbled the old woman. When she leant over the oven, Gretel rushed towards her and pushed her into the flames as hard as she could. Then she quickly closed the heavy door of the oven so that the witch wouldn't be able to go out, and then hurried to her brother to set him free. Before leaving, the children searched the house and found a box full of jewels. They also ate well and took some provisions of delicious sweets. "Now we have to find our way home," said Hansel. Fortunately, the birds in the forest helped them, and 2 days later they reached their house. When he saw them, the woodcutter, filled with joy, rushed towards them. He was alone because in their absence his wicked wife had died. "I will never abandon you, never ever," said the woodcutter. Thanks to the jewels found at the witch's house, the family was henceforth in no need of money, and they lived happily together.